To Creative Mornings, welcome to First Creative Mornings. Happy New Year! I know it's a bit late, but it's our first opportunity to say Happy New Year, isn't it? So onwards today to our main event, Jonny Prest. So as we said before, we've got a global theme this month, and this month is promise, and it's a good theme for January, right? Because it's a year and an era where we're all making promises. Like I said earlier, I asked you all to put the promise you're making yourself to in the chat, so you can have a scroll to those. But our Tirana chapter chose this month's exploration of promise, and the talented Jolyn Matraku illustrated it. And I'm going to put all their links to Jolin's work into the email that we'll do. But without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing screen. And I'm going to get Jonny Prest to take the microphone. John, are you ready, my sir?
I am. Thank you. Well, it's lovely to kind of meet you all. Hopefully this year, UK-based people, we can actually meet in person, hopefully at Quad. The omelette and sausage wrap sounds amazing. And you never know, we might even be able to have a cheeky cuddle this year, hopefully. But we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, my name's Jonny Prest. I'm the creative director at Seed, which is kind of my full-time job. But my part-time job is Brand Master Flash. And although I do a lot of strategy work with clients and coaching from a brand point of view, it's actually a bit more than that for me. It's a platform for me to have a chat with people. It's a platform for me to learn. It gives me an opportunity to read lots of books and speak to people. And along that journey, all the things that I learn, I can then bring it back into my business, into my agency, and kind of deliver my projects more from a brand perspective. So Tim came and approached me, I think it was in December, and said, "Would you like to talk at Creative Mornings?" I said, "Yeah, definitely." And I can't remember if it was on that conversation or slightly after that. He said, "Right, there's a theme, and obviously you've got to do a talk around that theme." I said, "Fantastic." And he said, "Promises." I was like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I went away first week, and thought about promises, and nothing really came at first. I didn't, couldn't really think of anything. Then week 2 came about, and still I couldn't really think of anything that came to mind. And I thought that was quite strange, because normally I'd be able to kind of connect with the subject quite quickly. And I kind of kept thinking, why am I not connecting with promises? What can I talk about promises? Because it's one of those words, I think it has a bit of an identity crisis. I think we talk about it a lot, but often it doesn't have a really strong meaning sometimes, promises. So I thought, well, what's the first thing to do? I'm going to go away and I'm going to do a little bit of research. So the first place I went to was the dictionary. I thought, what is a promise? Let's understand what a promise is so I can really get my head around it. And now the dictionary had 2 definitions of a promise. Okay, so the first one is a declaration or assurance that one will do something or that a particular thing will happen. I quite like that one. I thought that was a little bit gangster, that one. I thought it was a little bit tough, like, declaration of assurance that one will do something or that a particular thing will happen. So that was the first definition. The second definition is the quality of potential excellence. Now, normally when you're doing a business talk, if anyone's doing a business talk, I think you'd normally go towards number 2, the quality of potential excellence. So I can imagine a lot of you either work for an organization, or you're a freelancer, or you run your own business. And when we promise within an organization that we're going to do something, it's normally a promise of excellence. It's a promise or a guarantee that we are going to do a particular thing, a product at a certain level. But going back to number 1, I was more interested in this, that something may happen to us in our lives, and then we create a declaration that we're going to do something. So I kind of kept thinking about this and I thought, well, this is actually a really good direction to go in and start. And I started thinking about what has happened in my life where something has happened and then I've turned around and promised something. So I had to look at all the different things in my life. And I kind of then adjusted number one to suit that. And so I looked at number one and I turned it into a declaration that I will do something if that particular thing happens again. Okay. So that really resonated with me. And I think in life, I think we do promise things once something has happened to us in the first place. So I had a little think and I kept thinking about what are all the different promises that we make in our lives. And one thing I found was there seem to be two types of promises. There's big promises and there's little promises. So, and there doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground really. And I found with the big promises, they are instrumental in our life. They're foundational. They make us, they change the course, the directory of our lives. They make us change as people. They change our personality. They change our character. These are big things that happen in our life. And if we go back again, they're the things that if something happens, I will do a particular thing. So a declaration that I will do something if a particular thing happens again. So there's big promises. And then there's loads and loads of little promises. So I started going through the little promises first. So here are just a handful that came to me. So I promise I'll do the washing up in the morning. That's a common one in our house. I promise I won't be late. Okay. I promise I won't leave the toilet seat up. I promise I don't do that. I promise I will have an early night tomorrow. I promise I won't say that again. I promise I'll do the ironing. I never do that promise. I break that regularly. And I promise to be home before 12. And that definitely doesn't happen at the moment. And if you're out after 12 during COVID, then you're doing something very odd and maybe you want to be arrested for that. So those are things that we promise. And I think those are the promises that we always break. You know, they don't mean anything. Like if you say, I promise to do the washing up in the morning and you don't, and you've broken that promise, it really means that promise, there was no gravitas to it. There was no strength to it. There was no foundational commitment to that promise. And they're just little throwaway things that we do. And then following that, then you've got the big promises. And so I went through my life and I just thought, when have I made those big promises? And these ones that we don't often break, these are the ones that we keep. So I went through without actually talking about specific people or things. I just rounded them up. So these are the big promises. So I promise I will never let anyone hurt me again like that, or never let anyone hurt me like that again. And so this can happen in your personal life, but it also can happen in your business life. So if you've ever worked with someone or you've had a customer or a client who has hurt you in some way, maybe financially or psychologically or said something, or you've worked for an organization that, you know, someone's hurt you, maybe it was your boss or your colleague, and then you go away and you lick your wounds and you heal, and then you promise yourself that this will never happen again. And you make sure as you navigate through life, when you have red flags or these warning signs, that you try and position yourself and react in a certain way so that these never happen again. So these are the big promises. And so I started going through. So this was the first one. I'll never let anyone hurt me like that again. The second one is, I promise I'm going to be a better person. So this is one that we often do in January, isn't it? Like maybe we're going to drink less, we're going to eat less, we're going to exercise more. And often maybe we don't keep that promise as well as we should do, but we do strive towards it. I think it's a little bit better than I promise I'm going to do the washing up in the morning. It's a bit stronger than that. I still think it's a big promise. I promise I'm going to be a better person. And that could be in your work life. It can be in your personal life. I often flip between work and business, and especially through in the last 12 months, because we are all going through this work-life integration. And it doesn't matter if you're a freelancer and you've always worked from home. most organizations now, if you've got an office-based job, computer-based job, you are working from home at the moment. And so you have this work-life integration. So life at work and life at home kind of feels like the same thing. And that's a good thing as well, because it's a foundational value. When something happens at work, it affects you as a person, and obviously it's going to affect you at work. So that's a big promise. I'm going to be a better person. The third one is, I promise to never treat anyone like that again. So the first one was something about how someone's treated you. Now this one is about how I've treated someone else. And in the past, I'm not perfect. I think I could have definitely treated people better in work and out of work. And I have made promises to be a better person and treat people in a way that I'd like to be treated. So these are big promises, and I'd like to think all these big promises I have kept and I continue to keep. Then the fourth one is, I promise I'm going to fulfill my dreams. This is a promise that we can't always keep, but it's a promise that we'll always try and work towards and strive towards. And I think, it's testament to all of you sat at Creative Mornings that, you want to better yourself. You want to develop your career, your skill set. You want to meet new people. You want to meet like-minded people. You want to grow as a person. And I think that's a promise that we should all say and try and keep, because I think that's important. And I'm a big believer in growth. I'm a big believer in trying to improve yourself and be healthier physically, mentally, and spiritually if you can. And I'm a really big believer in always trying working on your craft. Work on your craft. I think, as I can imagine most of you are creatives, that every day you want to try and be that little bit better. And I think a lot of you will have a vision of where you want to be in 6 months and 12 months and where you want to take your career. And that's a beautiful promise. If you can work at that promise and promise yourself every day, what am I working towards? What's my North Star? Where am I walking to? Then that's a beautiful promise. So they were the big promises, and I wrote them down. And when I wrote them down, there was something that really came to me and that was really apparent. And it was that your big promises are really, really connected to your foundational values. So the difference between values and foundational values, I think foundational are much more connected to you. They're much more the foundations of who you are and who you want to be, and the way that you look, the way that you talk, and the way that you act, the way that you treat people. They often come from the whole of your life. You've built them over time. But foundational values actually come from times within your life that you've learned something and you've acted upon it, and now it becomes part of you. And it's same as those big promises that you've made yourself. The big promises, the thing that happened, actually turn into foundational values. And foundational values are the heartbeat. They are the bloodline of your business and who you are and how you act and how you do your day to day and how you develop your business as a person and how you grow. And I thought that was really interesting. So I want to try and show some examples of how this works. So how are your big promises your foundational values, and how does that affect your day to day, your life and your business? So let's go back to the first one again. I promise I will never let anyone hurt me like that again, or hurt me again like that. So what were the foundational values that came off that? So the first one would be carefulness, so that you navigate yourself through life and look at those red flags so that you can protect yourself and protect your energy. It's pride. You care about yourself. You have pride in what you do. You respect yourself. You love yourself, and with that comes pride. It gives you strength and self-preservation. Now, you can't keep getting hurt all the time, whether it be you get your heart broken or something horrible happens at work. That can't keep happening. So there is a bit of self-preservation, that you protect yourself over time. So those are the foundational values that would come off a big promise like that, or something that happened in your life. The next one is, I promise I'm going to be a better person. So this could be whether it be that you want to improve your health or your work or whatever it is, the growth within yourself. So that could be ambition. it's confidence, it's energy, it's hope. Now, I like these foundational values because they're real. So when people in an organization write foundational values, they always go for the same ones: creativity, diligence, honesty. Like I think honesty is a foundational value that we should have very early on, when we're young and we're a child. I don't think we should be talking about honesty within an organization. I think, if you haven't got an honest organization, you've got big problems. I want to dive much deeper into really what makes people tick and really what do they care about. And you find that through situations and challenges that you've had in your life. Now, if you've got 1,000 people in your organization, you still go through the same process, but they have to be shared beliefs. They have to be beliefs that people can connect with and have shared together. So it could be like losing a client or having to make redundancies, or and especially now, this is the perfect time to do it through a pandemic, because things are changing. So I really believe in foundational values, true foundational values, where something has happened to us and that's transformed us. Now, so there are two examples. Now, although I really love foundational values, values are dead. And that's a bold statement, but values are dead. Long live guiding principles. Because it's all well and good having a list of words on your manifesto, in your mission statement, in the lobby of your reception and when you come into your building, but unless you're actually doing something about those values and acting upon them, they don't really mean anything. So guiding principles is really what you want to start looking at. And so to understand guiding principles, they're foundational values plus action. Okay, so if we are going to talk about confidence and strength and self-preservation, they don't mean anything unless we act upon them. So we list those foundational values and then we act upon them. So I'm going to go back to some examples so you understand them with the action. So we go back to the first one. So I promise I will never let anyone hurt me again like that. And let's look at carefulness. Say that that's your foundational value that's really important to you and your organization, that carefulness. So we will always make sure we onboard anyone into our business or team with care, due diligence, and emotional gut instinct. Really, I think maybe emotional gut instinct should have been first there. And with gut instinct, it's the part of the brain it's where our feelings and instincts and our relationships come from. And often when we're working with people or in a relationship, like you get a feeling and a vibration of someone very early on, and often we don't listen to that feeling, and we should. And I think if you can learn to trust your feelings and your gut instincts, and that will give you carefulness, that will give you the foundational value. So let me break those three down so we understand what they are. So the first thing is the big promise is the thing that happened. It's the thing that happened in our life. Then from that thing, we're able to look at what is it that we learn, and the thing that we're going to implement, which is the foundational value. And then we want the action. Okay, so what are we actually going to do if something like that happens again? What are we going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? And then if you combine those three things together, the thing that happened, what did we learn, the foundational value, and what we're going to implement, and what is the action, that then becomes a guiding principle. So the guiding principle for that will be trust our gut. With care and due deal, we will never let anyone hurt us, break us, or disrupt our energy. Now, that's the type of thing that I want to see in a lobby of a business. That's the type of thing that you should have up on your wall. That's the type of, foundational value that does actually mean something, because it's something that's happened to you. You've learned, you've got a foundational value off it, and then you act upon it, and that becomes your guiding principle. Now, you might have one or you might have 20 guiding principles, but once you put all those guiding principles together, you then have your brand philosophy. So this is all your guiding principles that come together, and then your brand philosophy. And I'm a big believer in brand philosophy. So when I work with my clients, I try and understand about their business. I understand about their people, and I often, through the majority of a strategy sessions, is talk about the bad things, because of the bad things we can actually get them out in the open. We can talk about them, we can figure out what did we learn, what made us better, how have we grown from that, and then we can work towards being better and making sure it doesn't happen again. And that philosophy is the way. I always call it's the way. So I don't know if any of you have watched The Mandalorian. It's the way, you know, it's the philosophy that you work towards. It's and although it protects you from the bad things, it also amplifies the good things. So if there's a certain creative area that you love working towards, if there's certain things that you love doing, if there's certain things that are more profitable that you do, if there's if there's things that you do in your working day within your organization that work, this should all be in your philosophy. So it's good and bad. If there's things that make you more creative, if there's more innovative, if there's things that make you more imaginative, you know, you look at those things within your history and in your business and understand, why do they make us more creative? Why do they make us better? Why do they put a smile on our face? And again, you go through the same process. So what was that thing? What is the foundational value? And how do we act upon that? And that again becomes a guiding principle, and it all becomes your philosophy, and you will live and breathe by that philosophy. Anything in your brand strategy should be written in pencil. Like, it changes, and like we know that it changes day to day, because it's probably changing right now through the pandemic. You know, the things that you feel, the things that you do within your organization, your business, your freelance business, it's all changing. And so your brand philosophy, your strategy is written in pencil, and you want to keep going back to it and developing and changing it. The one thing that comes out of your brand philosophy is to protect your energy. Now, with your energy, I see it as a globe, as a piece of, you can actually almost see your energy. It's the glowing vibrations that follows you everywhere you go. And in my mind, I can see it, I can breathe it every day, and I protect it. So if anything happens within my business, whether it be a person or a thing or situation, my first thing is protect the energy, because that energy is what's going to get you up in the morning. It's the thing that's going to drive you forward. It's the thing that's going to give you empathy. It's the thing that's going to keep you calm in difficult situations. And your philosophy is the guardian of that energy. And you've got to grow that energy and make that energy so strong so that anything that can happen. Now, that energy will grow and your philosophy will grow because of the things that have happened to you. And you can't protect yourself from that. So in a lot of ways, you have to get hurt, because if you get hurt, you can get strong, and then you can make those promises. You can make those big, big promises that are going to make you better. They're going to sculpt you. They're going to give you opportunities to learn. And like the Stoics saying, the obstacle is the way. So those big things that happen in your life are there for you, to help you. And then you can make those big promises. And once you've made those big promises, they'll help you develop your foundational values, to help you then develop your guiding principles, and then create your philosophy. And once you've got that philosophy, hopefully you'll be problem free. Hakuna Matata. Okay, that's me, everyone. Thank you for your time. Look at that beautiful man. Yeah, look at that beautiful man. If you do want to find me or search me or see my content, I'm on all the platforms pretty much. Just search Brandmaster Flash. And on LinkedIn, I'm Jonny Prest. Yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Please do follow Jonny, because his video content is brilliant. Okay, let's do one more round of applause for Jonny then, people. Thank you very much, my friend. Awesome.